Welcome to another deep dive. Today we are going to be talking about the Upper East Side.
Ooh, fun.
But really, it's more than that. It's a deep dive into season 1 of Gossip Girl.
Oh my gosh. A classic.
A classic. And we're gonna be talking about things like power dynamics and the cost of keeping secrets.
Secrets and lies and all the
Oh my gosh, and all the betrayal.
all the drama.
Yeah.
Gossip Girl is so fascinating to me because, you think about teen dramas and you
Yeah.
think about the typical kind of like high school setting, but this one
Right.
goes beyond that with this exclusive world of the Upper East Side.
Right.
And they actually call it this gilded cage for
Oh.
these characters.
Oh, gilded cage. I like that. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, it's like imagine being surrounded by all this wealth and all this luxury.
Huh.
But at the same time feeling trapped by all of the expectations and the pressures that come with it.
Right.
Their lives might look glamorous on the outside, but I think the show does a really good job of revealing the kind of like dark underbelly of this world.
Yeah. So how does that gilded cage then amplify the drama and the
Yeah.
characters' motivations?
Yeah, well, think about it. When you're in a world where everyone has money,
Uh-huh.
the stakes just get raised like so much higher.
Right.
Desires,
Mhm.
fears, betrayals, they just become so much more intense because they're competing
Uh-huh.
for something that goes beyond the material wealth.
Right.
They're fighting for social status.
Yeah.
They're fighting for control.
Yeah.
They're fighting for validation in this world that just constantly judges them.
It's like the wealth becomes a tool for or a weapon almost
Totally.
in this quest for power.
For sure. And we can't forget about
Yeah.
the mysterious Gossip Girl,
Oh, yes.
who is this anonymous blogger who's like the
Right.
puppet master, right?
Dar-
Controlling all of the characters' lives.
Yeah, by exposing their
Yeah.
secret.
It's like you have this invisible force that's watching your every move and ready to spill the tea at any moment.
Oh my gosh, so anxiety inducing.
Right.
And it's interesting because the show premiered back in 2007.
Yeah.
And that was right around the time that social media was really taking off.
Yeah.
And it almost seemed to foreshadow
Right.
the power and the dangers of like online surveillance,
Oh,
and public shaming.
It makes you think about how much power we give to all these anonymous
Yeah.
voices online.
It's kind of unsettling to think about.
Like,
Anyone could be watching and judging your every move online.
for sure, it brings up all those questions about privacy and
Uh-huh.
authenticity and the pressure to present this perfect image online.
Yeah, absolutely. And in this world of secrets and surveillance, we have these incredibly complex characters.
Oh, they're so good.
And our sources, they really focus on 4 in particular.
Okay.
Serena van der Woodsen, Blair Waldorf, Dan
Yeah.
Humphrey,
Yeah.
and Chuck Bass,
The main players.
the main players. Yeah.
Let's start with Serena.
Okay.
She's the it girl.
Uh-huh.
She's the one who returns to the Upper East Side after this mysterious disappearance.
Right.
Everyone wants to be her or be with her.
Right.
She's beautiful, charismatic.
But she's holding us something back.
Oh, yeah.
She's got some baggage,
Yep.
some secrets from her past.
Absolutely. And that tension between her desire for a fresh start
Yeah.
and like the weight of her past,
Right.
I think is what makes her so interesting.
Yeah.
She's not just a pretty face.
Right.
She's trying to grapple with her own identity and figure out who she is
Right.
beyond the image that everyone kind of projects onto her.
Right. It's like she wants to be seen,
Yeah,
but she's also trapped by this expectation of being Serena van der Woodsen.
exactly. And then there's Blair Waldorf,
Okay.
Serena's best friend, but also her biggest rival.
Uh-huh.
If Serena is the it girl,
Mm.
Blair is like the queen bee.
Yes.
She's the one who thrives on control
Yeah.
and like meticulously crafts her image.
I remember that scene in the first episode where she confronts Serena at the Palace Hotel.
Yeah.
And she says, "You can't just swan back in here and expect everything to be the same."
Oh, yeah.
It was so good.
I know. And that really captures their dynamic perfectly.
Uh-huh.
This constant power struggle fueled by ambition and jealousy
Right.
and this like deep-seated insecurity that they both try to mask.
It's like they love and loathe each other at the
Huh.
same time.
Totally. Their friendship is a roller coaster.
Yeah.
But I think that's what makes it so compelling.
Right.
You never know what's going to happen next.
And they understand the pressures of that world.
Absolutely. They need each other, even if they don't always want to admit it.
Yeah, and it's not just Serena and Blair
Right.
who are navigating this really complex social landscape.
Yeah.
Our deep dive also uncovers the complicated characters of Dan and Chuck.
Right.
Dan Humphrey, the outsider.
Yeah, the lonely boy from Brooklyn.
Right.
Thrown into this world of the Upper East Side elite.
And he kind of represents the audience's perspective in a way.
Totally.
Because he's looking at all of it with a critical eye.
Yeah, he's like judging it all.
Right, but he gets sucked into the drama too.
Oh, absolutely.
Because he falls for Serena.
Right.
So he immediately is entangled in this web of secrets and lies.
I love that about his character because it shows that even those who claim to be above it can get caught up in the game.
Yeah, and then there's Chuck Bass.
Oh, Chuck.
The ultimate bad boy.
Yeah, with all the wealth and all the darkness.
Yes, and our research indicates there's a reason behind all that bad behavior.
Oh, yeah. His backstory is so important to understanding his character.
Right.
He's had a childhood marked by neglect and emotional abuse from his father.
So he doesn't know how to have healthy relationships. He seeks control and validation through these power plays.
Totally. He's a product of his environment. You know, he's both a victim and a perpetrator.
It's like he's this wounded soul hiding behind this mask of arrogance and indifference.
For sure.
So we've got Serena battling her past, Blair striving for control, Dan caught between two worlds, and Chuck wrestling with his inner demons.
And it's all happening under the watchful eye of Gossip Girl, who is orchestrating so much of the drama.
Right. And speaking of Gossip Girl, it's interesting how the show uses this anonymous blogger to comment on the power of social surveillance.
Totally.
It's almost like Gossip Girl is this representation of our own obsession with celebrity culture.
Absolutely.
We want to know all the intimate details of people's lives, and we're thrilled when somebody's image crumbles.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder if we're all a little bit complicit in this culture of surveillance.
Yeah, are we gossiping or are we being gossiped about?
Exactly. That's the question.
Right.
Especially in today's world where social media has become such a dominant force.
Yeah, so we've got this glamorous setting, these complex characters, this omnipresent force of Gossip Girl stirring the pot.
Always.
But there's a deeper layer to this show.
There's so much more to it than just rich kids behaving badly.
Right.
It's a commentary on society as a whole.
Okay.
On the allure and pitfalls of ambition and on the consequences of living in this world that often prioritizes image over substance.
It's like it's holding a mirror up to our own obsessions.
Right.
With wealth and status and social validation.
And that's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Because it forces us to confront some uncomfortable truths about ourselves and the world we live in.
I am intrigued.
Yeah.
I want to know more.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Yeah.
So what are some of those uncomfortable truths that Gossip Girl exposes?
Well, one of the things that always struck me about the show is this portrayal of wealth and privilege. It doesn't shy away from showing how the character's affluence can lead to a sense of entitlement and a detachment from reality.
Yeah, I remember that scene where Chuck throws money at a waiter.
Oh, yeah.
To, like, get him to leave.
Classic Chuck.
So we can have a private conversation. It was so cringy.
I know, and it's like, he thinks money can solve everything.
Right.
And even worse, it's like other people's time and dignity are just completely irrelevant.
But their wealth becomes a shield that protects them from the consequences.
Totally. And I think that resonates even more today when you look at real world examples of how wealth and power can shield people from accountability.
It's a lot to think about.
Yeah.
So Gossip Girl is this reflection of societal values.
Right.
But it's also this really character-driven drama. We were talking about Serena and Blair earlier.
Right.
And our research kind of dives deep into their complicated friendship. And
that's so good.
It suggests that their relationship is actually this fascinating microcosm of the show's larger themes.
Totally. It's all about power competition.
Right.
That constant struggle for validation.
Yeah, they're both so smart and capable, but they're also deeply insecure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they're driven by this need to be seen as the best.
Yeah, it's like they're trapped in this gilded cage.
Right.
But they're fighting with each other for the best spot in the cage.
Exactly. They're both victims of the system, but they're also perpetuating it.
Right.
Through their actions.
Yeah, and then you add in their love lives.
Oh, yeah.
Every guy on the Upper East Side wants to be with either Serena or Blair.
Of course, because they're the it girls.
Right. And I was reading about this concept called the social panopticon.
Ooh, yes.
Can you explain what that is?
So it's this idea that we live in a society where we're constantly being watched and judged, both online and offline. It's like this invisible prison where the guards are our peers, our family, even strangers on the internet.
Okay, so how does that relate to Blair and her relationships?
Well, Blair is so acutely aware of this social panopticon.
Right.
She knows that every move she makes, every relationship she enters into is being scrutinized, like evaluated by her peers.
It's not even about love. It's about strategy.
Totally.
It's about maintaining her social standing.
Exactly. And that's where her relationship with Chuck Bass comes in.
Oh, Chuck and Blair.
It's this volatile, passionate, and ultimately toxic dynamic.
Yeah. And speaking of Chuck, the sources really delve into his character development. And we talked about his past.
Right.
But it seems like there's more to him than meets the eye.
I think Chuck is much more than just a rich bad boy.
Okay.
You know, he's capable of genuine affection.
Okay.
And I think his feelings for Blair, however twisted they might be, are real.
But it's so hard to root for him.
I know.
When he just keeps hurting people.
Right. But that's the thing about Chuck. He's both a villain and a victim.
Okay.
He's capable of great love and great cruelty.
Right.
And he desperately wants to be loved.
Yeah.
But he sabotages his relationships because I don't think he believes he deserves happiness.
It's like a cycle of self-destruction.
Totally. And it's fueled by his privilege.
Right.
He's never had to face any real consequences.
So he keeps making the same mistakes.
Until he starts to confront his past and take responsibility for his behavior.
And then we see that glimmer of hope.
Yeah.
So Chuck's journey is about breaking free.
It is.
From that cycle of privilege and entitlement.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, and what about Dan?
Dan.
Where does he fit into all of this?
I see Dan as like the moral compass of the show.
Okay.
He's not perfect.
Right.
But he represents the voice of reason. He's the outsider looking in with his critical eye.
But like we said, he gets sucked in.
He does. He falls for Serena.
Right.
And that relationship really highlights the tension between his values and his desires.
He wants to be different, but he ends up playing the same game.
Yeah, he gets caught up in it.
Right. And it seems like all of the characters are grappling with these contradictions.
Right.
These internal battles between who they want to be and who society expects them to be.
I think that's what makes them so relatable.
Oh,
Even though their lives are outlandishly glamorous.
Yeah.
We all struggle with those things, fitting in, finding our place. Navigating those pressures.
And Gossip Girl does such a good job of capturing those universal struggles.
Totally. It's like, even in this world of designer clothes and champagne brunches, the fundamental questions of identity and love and belonging, they're all still the same.
It's like beneath all the glitz and the glamour, we're all just trying to figure things out.
Absolutely. And that's a message that resonates with everyone.
Okay, so we talked about the characters, the themes, the social commentary, but what about the show's impact?
Yeah.
Why does Gossip Girl continue to captivate audiences?
Well, I think it's because it taps into something timeless and universal about the human experience. It explores these themes of love, betrayal, ambition, identity in a way that feels both relatable and entertaining.
It's like a guilty pleasure, but it also makes you think.
Totally. And you never know what's going to happen next.
Keeps you on the edge of your seat.
For sure. And that suspense is heightened.
Right.
By Gossip Girl, who's always lurking.
Yes.
Ready to expose their secrets.
It's like this modern-day Greek chorus.
Totally.
Commenting on the action.
Yeah, and reminding us that no one is safe.
And that sense of voyeurism.
Right.
It's part of what makes it so addictive.
Totally. We're all complicit in the gossip.
Even when we're judging the characters.
Exactly. And that's another brilliant layer to the show. It makes us question our own role in this culture of surveillance and judgment.
Like it's saying, hey, you might think you're above it all.
Right.
But you're just as caught up in this game.
And that's a message that's even more relevant today.
Okay, we've covered so much.
We have.
But I feel like we've only scratched the surface. I know it's crazy how a show about rich teenagers can make you think about society and like our values.
That's so well written, though. It weaves in these like really complex themes.
Yeah.
But in a way that's still entertaining.
Right. It's not preachy.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that the message about social surveillance is even more relevant today.
Oh, for sure, because when you think about how much social media has changed since Gossip Girl first aired, it's crazy. Like, everyone has a platform now.
Right.
Everyone can be a critic, a commentator, a gossiper. Exactly.
Right.
And the lines between public and private are so blurred.
It's like we're all living on the Upper East Side now.
It kind of is.
And we're all playing the same game.
We are.
Yeah, and it's a very seductive game.
Oh, yeah.
We're bombarded with images of, like, wealth and success.
All the time.
And it's so easy to get caught up in comparing yourself.
Right, and feeling like you're not enough.
Yeah.
Unless you're living up to these impossible standards.
It's like we've all become mini gossip girls, judging everyone.
Totally, ourselves and everyone else.
Yeah, based on these totally superficial things.
And that constant scrutiny is damaging.
Right. It affects our self-esteem.
Absolutely.
So how do we break free?
That's the big question.
Yeah, how do we break free from this cycle of judgment?
I think Gossip Girl actually offers some clues.
Okay.
You know, it reminds us that beneath the surface, everyone is flawed and vulnerable.
Right.
We're all human.
Yeah.
And it shows us what happens when we chase empty validation.
Right. It's not about the approval of others.
No, it's about finding that genuine connection.
Right. Yeah.
And self-acceptance.
Yeah. So true happiness comes from within.
It does.
It's not from the number of likes on your Instagram post.
Exactly. And that's a message I think we all need to hear.
Especially today.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Gossip Girl Season 1, what's the key takeaway you hope our listeners will walk away with?
I think the most important thing is to be mindful of the game. To be aware of all those pressures and expectations that are constantly on us.
Right, from society, from ourselves.
We have the power to choose how we play the game.
Yeah.
Or to opt out entirely.
To make our own rules.
Exactly.
So it's about recognizing our own worth.
Yes.
And finding happiness on our own terms.
I love that.
And not the terms that are dictated by this culture, obsessed with image and status.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, I think we did it.
I think so.
We untacked the drama, the character.
The social commentary.
The social commentary.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
Yeah. I would just say,
you
know, next time you're scrolling on social media.
Yeah.
And you get caught up in the gossip or the drama. Just take a step back.
Yeah.
And ask yourself, what game am I playing?
Right.
Is this a game I even want to win?
That is a question worth asking.
For sure.
All right. Thanks for joining us, everyone, on this deep dive into Gossip Girl.
Yes. Thank you.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on the show and what resonated with you.
For sure.
You can share your insights on social media.
Right.
You can keep the conversation going in your own circles.
Absolutely.
And until next time, Zuxo.